Okay, good morning, everyone. Hello. Thank you for joining us here today. My name is Alia. I'm part of the programming team here at PreMedCC, and I'm so excited to welcome Dr. Adrian Silver for our session today.
Right. You guys hear me okay?
Yes, yeah.
Hey, let
Audio's
me
working.
share my screen. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. There we go. That's visible to everybody.
Yes.
Thanks. Just wanted to check. So I'm Dr. Adrian Silver. I am a pediatrician. I am out in Northern California, and I work for a company called Kaiser Permanente, which is the largest physician-run healthcare group in the country. We have about 5,000 docs in our group, so we're pretty large. I have been a practicing pediatrician for almost 27 years now, which seems really crazy. And in the last, I would say 10 plus years, I've gotten super engaged in education. So I started teaching medical students from nearby medical schools and residents from one of the residency programs in our town in about 2010. And then moved from there into the role of Director of Medical Education for our entire facility, as well as the medical student director for students that come up to our campus to do their rotations in their third year of medical school when they come up and they actually work in the hospital and in the clinics. And I also run our continuing medical education program for our physicians. Because you need to keep up on your education after you graduate medical school and residency, you're required to get a certain number of what's called continuing medical education. And then I also am the outpatient pediatric director for our own residency. We started a family medicine residency in 2018, and I am the outpatient peds director for that. Also, for your information, when I just graduated medical school and was part of residency and then just starting practice out in Colorado, I was a member of the University of Colorado Medical School Admissions Committee. So I do have several years of experience understanding what medical schools are looking for in their students. And I also have a fair amount of information about just beyond medical school and residency. So what I'm hoping to help you guys with today is just a large overview of how do you proceed in your career? How do you take each step? So how do you get into medical school? How do you get into residency? And the way I want to think about it and the way I kind of want you guys to think about it is there's basically the concept is that medical schools are basically shopping for students, right? They want the students that they know are going to be successful, that they can invest in and know that they're going to be able to perform the rigors of medical school and then be successful beyond. So they're shopping, and you sort of need to think of yourself as what they're shopping for. And so the sort of the overview of this and what I hope you guys get out of this is that there's basically two parts to you as you're going through this process. The first part is, how do you look on paper? So we'll talk a little bit about your application and what you want in your application. We'll talk a lot about social media because that's sort of you on paper and you in person, and how you are presenting yourself. And then perhaps even more important is how, when you go for an interview, how do you present yourself in a way that makes medical student admissions officers confident that you're going to do well in this career. So that's kind of what I want you guys to keep in mind. We want those to align because we want you to be genuine and we want you to be passionate and we want you to be able to show that passion. So that's really one of the larger goals of the session. There's going to be some interactive portion. So hopefully, I assume you guys have your phones nearby. And when we get to that, I will go through, popped up, sorry. We'll go through what to do. Hopefully it'll be fairly straightforward. So please feel free to post any questions in the chat. I'm also fine. I'm not sure how large the audience is. If you have a question for what I'm talking about, I'm also fine if you want to unmute or raise your hand and ask either one. And then at the end, I will definitely provide time for Q&A sessions. Okay. And of course, tech is not working. There we go. Oops. And you know what? It did not start on my first page. Gotta love tech, right? Okay, let's start here. All right. So, the agenda for the hour is to talk about how social media is both something you got to be wary of, but also how can it help you? Because social media is there and companies are using it, universities are using it, medical school admissions are using it. They're looking you up. So, how do we turn that to our advantage? We're
Hello. Okay. Hello.
I think she
Oops.
froze. So.
Dun, 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 dun. She'll be back.
Mhm.
The joys of bum 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 bum. Mm, mm, mm.
I'm so sorry, you guys. My little Wi-Fi, which is usually super reliable, just crashed. I am so sorry. Give me 1 second to reshare, and I appreciate your patience. Wow, that like never happens. It's so Murphy's Law. Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay. Are we back? Good to go? All right. My bad. Let me go into my presentation mode quick. Yikes. Okay. Flexibility. That's why that did that. One of the important qualities of being a doctor is flexibility. So, all right. So, my hope for the talk today is that my Wi-Fi does not go back out again, that you guys are engaged, you're curious, you're being open to learning, and then at the end to ask questions. Oops, and my video is not on. Okay. Hold on. Okay. If you guys could please get your phones out and go to menti.com and use that code that you see right there. And you'll see, hopefully, that the first question is, are you in high school or college? And if you guys could please, great. Looks like everybody's doing that. We'll give everybody just a couple minutes so that I can just get a sense of my audience.
Can you put the code back up again? Some people,
Yeah,
I'll just put it in the chat.
it's at the top of the screen. Yeah, 31. Yeah, I'll copy it. 3184 3041. If this is helpful for people too, here's a QR code that you can use instead, if that's easier.
We already did the poll and we got 54% community college, 31% college, 15% graduated, and
I wonder why it's not showing up for me all the way. Okay. So next question is, are you interested in being a doctor or PA or a different healthcare career? And that way I can also, if you can answer that for me and let me know, that way I can get a little bit more of a sense of.
So on our end, we got, okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm only seeing like, there we go. Okay. I'm seeing 12 answers. You getting more?
Yeah, on our end, we got more. We got 34.
So 34 doctor, PA, and then other health careers was the remainder.
Our shows is percentage wise, so 69% physician,
Perfect.
8% public health, 15% nursing.
Great. So the next part, stay on that Mentimeter. The next one is going to be a quiz on social media, and we are going to sort of talk about each answer as we go, and hopefully this will also be a good learning experience. So first question is, what is the most popular social media platform among teenagers as of 2025? I don't know why.
Yeah, Menti just froze on me.
Oh my God, what is going on with tech today? Let me refresh. I'm so sorry, you guys. So this really went
Okay,
quite well last night.
it came up.
Okay. All right, let's try that. Maybe I'm gonna try to join on my phone too to see if maybe I can see.
Yeah, it's not. It says
that.
please wait for the presenter
I'm
to
not
change
seeing
slides.
results. So if you don't mind just telling me until I can.
It says it's waiting for presenter to change slides.
All right, what about the social media platform answer?
It's not. It just shows it's a little hourglass.
Oh, seriously? Okay. Well, let's just wing it. Hang on, I'm just putting the code to see if it works on my phone real quick. Yeah, no, it's not. That's really too bad. I'm so sorry, you guys. Okay, we'll just keep going. So TikTok is the answer to this one. So next question is true or false? Everything you post on social media is protected by privacy settings and cannot be seen by strangers. Is that true or false?
That's false.
That is false. So hopefully everybody got that. Excellent. It's working again, but I'm only seeing a few, but I get the gist. So, okay. Next question. You post, I'm sorry, everything okay? Okay, next
Yes.
question. You post videos about dissections in anatomy class, making fun of the body that you're dissecting. You don't mention any specific information about the person. So the answers, it's okay because it wasn't specific to anyone and no one got hurt. It's okay because it's on my personal account. It's okay because it shows I have a sense of humor, which is important in medicine. Or it's okay to be funny, but I should be careful about being perceived as unprofessional. So yes, this is a fairly obvious one, but the point being is before you post anything, as you looked at the last answer, pretty much everything you put out there is potentially discoverable and out there, even if you feel like you're doing it privately or even if you feel like it's just a private chat between friends. So remember from this point on that you're really trying to cultivate a persona. You're trying to create the person that you want to be and the person that you want people to see you as. And so just be aware of that. The next time you go to post something, just stop and think, is this going to be potentially interpreted in a way that may not present me in the best light? Oh my goodness. Just having the worst day today. Okay. Which post might cause the most pause to an admissions committee? Sharing your passionate beliefs about many topics, a group photo at a wedding after several drinks, a story critiquing hospital management, or a post complaining about the MCATs. I'll give everybody a second. And if one of you guys, I'm only seeing about 10 answers, but there we go. A couple people more. All right, so the right answer to this is actually all of them. Might give pause. So I think the post complaining about the MCATs is fairly straightforward. Critiquing hospital management is also fairly straightforward. A group photo at a wedding after several drinks, I think that depends on the photo. If it's a tasteful photo, that's fine. If it's people being super goofy because everybody's had a little bit too much to drink, that's probably not something that you want to consider posting. And the problem about sharing your passionate beliefs about many topics is that the world has unfortunately become incredibly politicized. And there are lots of different views. And while some might be okay for some people, some may be not okay for other people. And medicine, unfortunately, is also part of that very politicalization. So I would again caution you before you post something you believe strongly about to just stop and think, is this something that somebody later could use in some way against me? So, I think about abortion care. I think about birth control. I think about end of life care. Like there's a lot of things that you can be really passionate about, but I would not share that on social media just because of the way of the world right now. So that's my advice on that one. What is the biggest long-term risk of having multiple anonymous accounts? So first, keeping track of everything on an ongoing basis. More accounts increases the risk of employers connecting them back to you. It's actually not a risk because I can keep one professional and one personal, and it's okay because they are anonymous. Okay, so I think the right answer to this is mostly number 2. More accounts increases the risk of employers connecting them back to you. I think keeping track of everything on an ongoing basis, I don't know that it's that one's that crucially important. It is a risk because there really isn't necessarily anything that separates a personal account from a professional one. Again, if somebody's tech savvy, they can find whatever they want to find on you if it's out there. So really, it's not anonymous and it's not really ever considered personal. So I think you have to just be really careful of that one. When trying to create a positive online presence, you should ask yourself if parents or teachers would approve, accept friend requests from everyone to gain more views, pick select photos that make you look mature and responsible, and post everything publicly to get more engagement. So I think 1 and 3 are the right answer. So I think always asking yourself if you would die if your parents saw this, then I wouldn't post it. Or if your teacher saw it, it's probably not appropriate to post. And then I think, as we'll talk about in a minute, using social media to create a positive presence means that you do want to be very selective about what photos you are posting. And I know for you guys, or I can assume from having my own kids and what I see in my teens and young adults that I take care of is social media is a big deal, and I get that. Like, it is so interwoven into your life, and it is such a way for you to socialize. It's the way you're communicating with your friends. It's the way you're communicating with the world. And I totally get that. And I don't want to tell you not to use social media, but you do have to stop and think about how you're using it, because you are going to be scrutinized. That's just the reality of it. All right, so which strategy most effectively builds a positive, credible online presence for a pre-med student? So reposting memes about classes or teachers that you know everyone hates, posting original reflections on volunteering, shadowing, or research, commenting on trending medical news stories, or using the same slang that you use with your friends. Good. So it looks like everybody kind of is getting that. Yeah, so again, posting memes about classes or teachers can certainly come back to haunt you. The commenting on trending medical news stories refers to kind of what I said before, which is, this didn't used to be the case, but I think now there's so much politicalization and scrutiny of belief systems, and you just, I think, have to be really careful with that. So I think you guys got the right answer to that one. So we're gonna hold here. Don't answer this one yet. We're gonna hold here and go back to my presentation. So nice job, you guys. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about creating a social media presence and how do you create a personal brand. So go back to what I said in the beginning, which is that medical schools are shopping and you are the product. And so think about for a second, going online, going on whatever platform you use, what is it about those products that catch your eye? What is it about certain people on TikTok doing videos that makes you want to keep listening? So starting to think about that and break that down so that you can incorporate that into what you're doing. So ideally, for the career that you are all looking at, whether it's being a physician, a PA, or any aspect of the medical field, what you really want to do is create a persona that shows that you are a professional, that you are respectful, and you want to show people what your aspirations are. So think about what people's first impressions of you are going to be, and And also what I said, think about like, how do you want people to view you? And keep that in mind as sort of your North Star, your guiding light as you are creating these personas. So examples, and I'll show you some, like dress in professional clothing, show yourself volunteering or engaging in the community, playing sports, show that you're well-rounded. That is something, and we'll talk about that a little more in a minute, but that is really something that's very important for medical schools. We talked about you on paper. So you have to assume that almost everybody applying for medical school have good grades and have done decently well on the MCATs. So that's a given. So the question that you need to kind of be thinking about as you're thinking about applying to schools is, how do you show the whole person that you are? How do you show that you've had experiences that make you understand what it means to go into this career? Show that you're a well-rounded person that is going to be able to connect with people, your patients eventually, on multiple different levels. So again, these are things to sort of keep in mind as you're cultivating this person that you're showing. So as we've discussed, you don't want to post inappropriate content, unprofessional behavior, any language that might be considered offensive. And just things can spread very quickly online when you don't want them to. So here's an example of a student, a medical student showing themselves looking very professional. Here's another one. You're showing you're studying hard, working with your friends. You're showing a volunteer experience working. And it's showing, you look at that photo and I see somebody that is professional. I see somebody that is at work. It's demonstrating commitment to being in a lab and working. It's showing that you're dedicated to get this job, right? Not everybody gets these kinds of jobs. It shows that you're driven. So think about what the picture is saying about you when you're posting it. So this was our local SRGC Sports Med Club. Here's some examples of showing yourself in volunteer roles. The one caveat about that I just realized with this picture is that, and this is not a real picture, this is online, but if you ever are volunteering and you post pictures of patients, you have to get their approval. You can't just post a picture of a patient. So just a caveat to that one. I'm hoping that in that photo on the left that they actually got approval before that. Or showing that you're volunteering or doing something to support your community. You don't want to post pictures partying, as we talked about. You don't want to show pictures that might embarrass you or somebody else, or pictures that show that this just is not respecting the person that you're holding. You don't want to post negative things about your boss, professors, friends, or coworkers. Social media is like toothpaste. Once it's out there, you really can't pull it back. It is discoverable. So just, and if you're on a certain site, there's a potential chance that your boss is as well. So you really do want to be very aware and very careful about that. So a couple suggestions. If you haven't, start a LinkedIn for yourself. And I'll show you some examples in just a second of what that LinkedIn looks like. But you're marketing yourself. So how do you market yourself? You want to show on this LinkedIn page activities that you are interested in that align with being a pre-med or future medical professional. You want to show that you've connected with professors or other medical professionals that show that you're engaged, that you want to learn more about this career, that you sort of know what you're getting into. You want to, as we've said, show on this page that you are showcasing leadership qualities, And it's totally fine to highlight academic achievements. So, those are important, and I don't mean to gloss over them. If you've won scholarships, if you've if you won an award through your school, things like that, those are things that you're going to want to post. So my homework for all of you tonight is to create a LinkedIn profile if you haven't. So here's some examples of, these are actual people that I've worked with. So this is a student at UC Davis who just graduated and is now a resident. So he's showing what his major is, which automatically, if I'm a mission committee person looking at that, I'm like, okay, yeah, they know they're doing neurobio, they're doing physiology and behavior. Like, those are great majors that let me know that, yeah, they really are truly engaged in this career. And there's some clicks there that show some work experience that they've had. It's showing that they are at University of California, Davis. So here's some posts. So he's posted that he presented extramural summer research at Stanford School of Medicine. Like, I'm going to look at that and I'm going to go, wow. It's not wow because it's Stanford. I mean, it is wow because it's Stanford, but it doesn't have to be Stanford. It's the fact that this person presented summer research, which is amazing because they did research over the summer and they were invited to present it. So lots of different things that you get out of this one statement if you're an admissions person looking at this applicant. It also shows some work experience. So they've been a researcher. They've been a research assistant. They're a student athlete on the bottom there. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, this is a really well-rounded person who is a serious person who understands and is committed to this career. And I got all of that from like 2 pages. So there's a lot you could interpret, both positive and negative, from these. So just having that awareness. Here's another student. So I gave this presentation at Black Lives, Black Men in White Coats, and these were students that I worked with that gave the presentation with me. So that's why they're featured here. So this is a medical student that I worked with, Valami, at Drexel. And he is also showing a professional picture of himself. He's showing a little bit about himself and his passions. And, these are excellent passions. Unfortunately, in today's day and age, the mentoring underrepresented minority students, depending on your political slant, may be a turnoff, but I also don't see that as controversial. Like, I personally think that's hugely valuable and hugely important. So I don't think there's a problem with saying what I do worry about is more like I said, with abortion or things like that are definitely more controversial to multiple different people. So this is his page that shows, he's a peer mentor, he's an academic coach, he's a medical scholar, he's a patient advocate, which is great, because you look at this and you're like, okay, this student really is going above and beyond and really showing that they are mature and have had experiences. So if I'm a resident program director and I'm looking at somebody that I want to be in my residency program, I'm gonna set this application high because I see like there's activities that he's done that show he's not just saying I did this and this, but he's actually like creating this picture of all these things that he's done. So hopefully you guys, these are some good examples of seeing what you can do. And if you haven't done these things yet, don't worry. We're going to get to talking about volunteering in just a minute. So if you haven't done it yet, you still have plenty of time to do it. So volunteer ideas. So you all are students, so it may be very difficult to get jobs, and getting jobs in these areas often require a degree that you don't have yet. The exception to that, and I think we get to that, is being an EMT, which I do strongly recommend, and I believe you can do that once you're 18. So just looking at some opportunities for volunteering. So I think it's fairly clear, but volunteering is really crucial because it's not required. It's not you're doing it because you have to at school. It's because you want to. And it shows that you're engaged in your community. It shows that you're going above and beyond to help people, which is really what being a doctor is, or any healthcare professional. It's the desire to help people. And so you want to be able to show that. And it's important to be in these roles because it tells you if this is the right career for you. TV shows just don't really show what it's like in real life. And if you don't have a parent or somebody close to you that is a physician that can kind of share the pros and cons, it's really important to see for yourself before you go down this very long road. Is this a career that you really are committed to? And there's lots of people that have said, I want to be a doctor, but then they shadowed or hung out with a PA and said, oh, being a PA makes much more sense because I want to start a family earlier, or I don't want to be in school for 4 years and then have to do a residency that is anywhere from 3 to 9 years. Like that's my whole it feels like my whole life. That's not for me. So again, having that experience gives you a lot of insight into whether it's the right thing for you or not. So hospital volunteer is kind of a no-brainer. It's a great thing to do for people. It gives you insight into what does a hospital do? What is it like to be a patient in the hospital? What is it like to take care of patients? What's it like to be a nurse in a hospital? So it just gives you a really good overview of the career. Looking at healthcare clinics for underserved populations. So every community has multiple different healthcare community-based clinics. And I strongly urge all of you to consider doing this because it is also very crucially important to understand the challenges that many, many, many of our patients face in getting health care and working in these facilities and seeing what is it like if they don't speak English? How do they get their care? What is it if they can't pay their copay? What happens to them? What happens if they need a specialist, but they're not insured? So really understanding the world that we live in and the challenges that people face, I think is a very important thing to understand. So Kaiser Permanente, if you are out in California, we have Northern California is the largest. There is a Kaiser Permanente in Southern California. There's one up in Seattle and the Pacific Northwest, Washington, D.C., and then Philadelphia, I believe, is the other one. And so this is, I'm sorry, but I don't know if this is beyond KP Northern Cal, but this is a large program within KP Northern Cal. It's a paid, which is unusual, summer internship for college students or students enrolled in a JC. So I'll give you guys a second to write this down to check out. I'll give you some more information in just a second, but I'll give you just a minute to look at that. Okay. So KP Launch's mission is to positively impact, hang on, let me move my Zoom screen so I can read that to you. Positively impact the lives of young adults from backgrounds that are currently underrepresented in healthcare careers and build a pipeline of diverse talent that will become future leaders in healthcare. This is all part of KP's commitment to high quality care and being able to meet the cultural and linguistic needs of California's increasingly diverse communities. So interns receive paid internship, hands-on assignments and professional development, exposures to careers, networking and mentoring, and opportunities to develop professional and personal leadership skills. So I think this one is specific just for Northern Cal. So if you have family out here that maybe you can spend part of the summer with, or you want to, come out for a month and do something, this is a great opportunity. So applications are right now. So they're fairly early for next summer. So they're happening November, December. So right now, and there is the website again or an email. And then there's a talent network that you can join with the web address below to learn about additional options at KP. So I'll give you guys just a second to maybe just take a photo of that screen so you can refer to it later. Going. So research is a good one. Most researchers are looking for college level and JC level students or college students to work in labs. So this is a very common summer thing for people to do. And it's a nice perspective to understand research, which is a whole different animal than seeing patients. So just having an understanding of the pace of research, at the amount of work it takes to get a grant, just learning sort of a little bit about the nuts and bolts is a very helpful thing for you. So and to access that, I'll say if you just reach out to, if you have any medical schools in the area, reach out to either their admissions committee might have a list of jobs or be able to direct you. There should be a job board for almost every medical school near you. So reaching out to those job boards to see who's hiring for summer lab jobs. And I would do that sooner rather than later because people want to kind of wrap that up over the holidays and have somebody in place fairly early that they know is going to be there for the summer. Big Brother, great organization. Big Sister, great organization. I didn't mean again, I did this for Black men in white coats, so that's why it just has Big Brother, but it's also, of course, relevant for Big Sister as well. Public health campaigns. So there's a lot of different public health initiatives. When COVID hit a couple years ago, our students were across the board from high school to college to JC to medical students all really jumped in and were so instrumental in getting COVID vaccines to people, to getting people seen. So there's always ways to get involved in promoting healthcare initiatives. So that's something else to think about. And then here's a couple other options. So nursing homes, assisted living facilities, hospice care, global health volunteering is also a really great thing because speaking other languages will definitely set you apart when you're applying. So there are multiple international organizations. Everyone knows Doctors Without Borders, but there's multiple other ones. Medical missions. You can Google medical missions and find missions all the time that are going to all over the world. Just be careful, be safe. I actually did a medical mission in Haiti multiple years ago, and I would definitely not recommend going back right now. It's just too politically unstable. So do be careful when you do that. But there are plenty parts of the world that are very stable and where you'll get a very good experience. I recently just went to Guatemala and did rural health care in, a Guatemala village kind of in the middle of nowhere. And it was just an incredible experience. And I learned so much even after doing this for many years. So I definitely would highlight doing that. Special Olympics or a similar program is also a really great way to get involved, or any health-related nonprofits. So you can find information on all of these with a fairly simple Google search. And then we talked about this in the beginning, but mentorship is really, really crucial. And I think this picture is a great illustration of that. So a mentor would be somebody that's climbed the mountain that you are trying to climb right now and has the experience, the tools to be able to help and guide you. If you have a parent that is in medicine, great, but I wouldn't use your parent. I would reach out to a professor that you've worked with in college or in a JC or even in high school, and get somebody that you feel like you can connect with. And when you do, you don't want to just say, hey, will you be my mentor? You want to kind of think about what you want to gain from that relationship. So thinking about what your goals are and expressing those goals. What areas do you feel like you need to grow that you could learn from them? And yeah, you want to, when you reach out, you want a fairly clear request of guidance, what they can help you with. So there's a lot of benefits to this, right? So you get guidance, advice, and the other thing that's really crucial is a character reference later. So those are going to be important for you when you're applying to schools. Getting letters of recommendation are another key way that you differentiate yourself from other people. And it's very, very clear from a medical student admissions person or when we review residency applications, it's very clear who took the time to really get to know the student and is speaking from their heart. You can definitely tell the difference between a generic, like, yeah, this student seemed great, I don't have any issues, and wow, this student I've known them for several years. I've seen them grow. I've seen them develop. Like being able to have somebody that can write you that kind of letter is really, really important to set yourself above other people. All right. So we're going to go back to that Mentimeter quiz section. Let me switch over to that. And just want you guys to think for a second what you think, what qualities in a person do you think medical schools and residencies are looking for? So hopefully this will work where you can see this. There we go. Good. Lots of you are saying empathy, reliability. Yes, definitely responsible. Resilient. That is a really good one. So whoever said that, yes, I think that is really, really important to be able to show through action that you are resilient. Curious, absolutely ethical. Yep. Determined, innovative, adaptable, yes. Passionate, yes. Perfect. So this is great. I'll give you a second before I switch off to maybe take a photo because I want you, as you're thinking about creating your online persona, your LinkedIn, when you're thinking about writing personal statements, I want you to keep these qualities in mind and ask yourself after you've done your LinkedIn page, after you've written your personal statement, would somebody reading this see that I am these things? And obviously you can't necessarily be all of these things, but picking a few of them and just making sure that these are things that come across in your personal statement, in your interviews, I think are very important. So hold 1 second. So we're going to switch back. Okay. I'm going to pause for just a quick second. And we have just a little bit left, but I wanted to make sure that there weren't any questions about the whole first part before I move into talking about interviews. Any questions in the chat or anything?
Doesn't look like there are any questions right now.
And then I will just keep going. Okay, so interviews are so vitally important and so hard. So I'm going to be really honest with you guys. I did not get into medical school the first time that I applied, and it wasn't my grade. My grades were fine. They were good. My MCATs, so my grades were very good. My MCATs were fine. Like, I'm not a huge, great standardized test taker, but they were fine. And so I got an interview, which is, a very important step. And then when I showed up to the interview, I'm going to be honest, I was not prepared the way I should have been prepared. And, for the questions that they ask in these interviews are behaviorally focused. They are things like, what experiences have you had that show your commitment to this career? Or tell me about a time when you worked with other people that was challenging and how did you deal with it? Tell me about what your weaknesses are and how did you overcome those? And at the time, I did not have the AI models that exist now. So I was not, and I didn't have somebody that told me what I was supposed to do. I mean, I'm aging myself, but we didn't have the internet to be able to look up, tell me questions that interviewers ask. So I was not very prepared. I'll have to say, I think it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I wasn't ready to go to medical school, honestly. I had worked in a lab over the summer, and I had done all the pre-med stuff, but that was really it for my experience and my exposure. And my answers were I knew I always wanted to be a doctor, but I couldn't explain the why, and I couldn't show the why. I couldn't show stories of things that I had been through that made the person understand that I actually knew what I was talking about. So, although at the time it was incredibly devastating because I did not think I wasn't going to get in, it was really important because I ended up being an EMT. And then I ended up working at Planned Parenthood over that year. And then when I went back and interviewed for the following year, I had so much more to talk about, so many experiences that I'd had that demonstrated for the person that was interviewing me that I actually have had some experience in the field that I wanted to go into. So now that you guys have ChatGPT, Gemini, all the different versions of AI, use it. Because if you go to ChatGPT and you say, I am a pre-med student and I'm interviewing for medical school, come up with a list of 5 or 6 questions that I'm going to be asked, and then you can record it and you can actually have, I've done this with ChatGPT, I'm sure the other ones do it as well, but you can then ask it to critique you. And provide, well, this was okay, but this might have been a better answer. So I don't have time for this to really go into prompts, but hopefully you guys have worked enough with AI models to understand that they'll do pretty much whatever you want them to do if you write the right prompt. So if you put in a whole bunch of information about these are the experiences that I've had, this is my GPA, this is my MCAT score, tell me what my chance is of getting into this medical school, and then asking things like, I want to interview with a panel. Ask me questions and then grade me on a panel medical school interview where I come across as professional and dedicated and empathetic. And did I meet those qualities in my answers? You can use this so much. You can also use this when you're writing personal statements, although you do have to be careful because the people reading them are going to know if you're using AI, because you don't want it to sound so, when you write a personal statement, and again, I don't quite have time for that today, but you want it to sound genuine and you want it to sound real. So using AI to help with some of the verbiage is totally fine, but I would caution you not to overuse it, especially when you're doing your personal statement, because you want it to be genuine. And they'll have read your personal statement. So if AI writes most of it, you are going to have a tougher time answering those questions if you're not doing it yourself. So anticipate the questions, rehearse your answers. Those are kind of my take-home points on that one. So the other big take-home point on this is don't tell, but show. So what I mean by that is use storytelling. So don't say my weakness is X, Y, and Z. Say I had this experience and this was the experience. And over the course of the experience, it showed that I sometimes get overwhelmed easily. And this is what I did to address my weakness. But show it through a story and use that story to show your journey through an experience. And how did you work in a team? Don't just say, I'm great with teams. I'm a really good team maker or team worker. I'm really good with other people. Show it, tell it. How do you show them that you are? So you definitely want to show it through stories. So let's hope that this next piece work. It is AI generated, but I wanted you guys to listen to these two sample interviews. They're very short. They're not what would be like, but just an example. And I want you to pay attention to how they are different. Okay, so, okay, ready? Hopefully this works. Can you hear that?
No,
It's not working?
I don't think so.
Ah! Okay, hold on. Seriously,
Unfortunately.
give me 1 second.
Mhm.
We troubleshooted this.
Yeah, we did.
Why is this not working now? All right, hold on. The speakers, same as system. So, now, now,
I don't
Nope.
think so.
No.
now you still don't hear it?
Yeah.
All right, hold on. Give me a minute. Oh, wait, here.
Experience that confirmed this
Oh,
path
Now?
for you?
yeah.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
Okay,
Sure.
perfect.
I shadowed
Okay,
a pediatrician for
let me, okay. Yay. Okay, ready? Let's try that again.
So
Okay.
tell me why you want to be a doctor.
Well, I've always been interested in science and biology. I did pretty well in those classes in high school and college, and I think being a doctor is a good way to use that knowledge to help people. Plus, it's a respected profession, and I want to do something meaningful.
Can you share an experience that confirmed this path for you?
Sure. I shadowed a pediatrician for a few days last summer. It was interesting to see how they interacted with patients and families. I liked how they explained things and made kids feel comfortable. It made me think, yeah, I could do this. But I haven't had a chance to do much more shadowing because of my class schedule.
What do you think being a doctor really means?
I think it means knowing a lot about the human body and being able to fix things when they go wrong, like diagnosing illnesses and prescribing the right treatments. I know it's a lot of work, but I'm ready to study hard and learn everything I need to.
How do you handle stress or difficult situations?
I usually just try to stay positive. If I get overwhelmed, I take a break or talk to my friends. I haven't had to deal with anything super intense yet, but I think I'll be okay once I get used to it.
What do you think will be the biggest challenge in medical school?
Probably the amount of studying. I've heard it's really intense. I'm a little nervous about that, but I think if I stay organised and don't procrastinate, I'll be fine.
Now, listen to this interview with a different student and see if you can pick up on differences in the responses.
So, tell me why you want to be a doctor.
My journey toward medicine started when I was 15 and my younger brother was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Watching my parents navigate his care and seeing how his pediatric endocrinologist empowered our family made me realize how impactful a physician can be, not just medically, but emotionally. That experience sparked my interest, but it was volunteering at a free clinic during college that solidified my commitment. I saw firsthand how access to care can change lives, and I knew I wanted to be part of that change.
Can you share an experience that confirmed this path for you?
During my junior year, I worked as a medical scribe in an emergency department. One night, a patient came in with chest pain and was terrified. It turned out to be a panic attack. The attending physician didn't just treat the symptoms. They took time to talk to the patient, validate their fears, and connect them with mental health resources. That moment showed me that medicine is about more than diagnoses. It's about listening, connecting, and advocating. I realized that being a doctor means being present for people at their most vulnerable.
Tell me more about what being a doctor means to you.
I think it means being a lifelong learner, a compassionate listener, and a responsible leader. It's not just about science. It's about service. Doctors hold a position of trust, and that comes with the responsibility to be ethical, empathetic, and culturally aware. It also means being honest about your limitations and working collaboratively with others to provide the best care possible.
How do you handle stress or difficult situations?
During college, I balanced academics with caregiving responsibilities for my grandmother, who had dementia. It was emotionally taxing, but I developed routines, practiced mindfulness, and leaned on support systems. I also journal regularly, which helps me process complex emotions. I know medical school will be challenging, but I've built habits that help me stay grounded and resilient.
What do you think will be the biggest challenge in medical school?
I think the emotional weight of patient care will be one of the biggest challenges, especially when outcomes aren't what we hope for. But I've had experiences that taught me how to sit with discomfort and grow from it. I'm committed to ongoing self-reflection and mentorship, and I believe those tools will help me navigate the highs and lows of medical training and my future career.
Right. So I'm going to switch over. So what mistakes or what did you notice in your in listening to that first interview? And you can just type, you can type in up like a sentence, but try to keep it short, I think, so we don't overwhelm the system. I'm not able to see this, unfortunately. Let me see. Are you seeing it, Aaliyah?
Yeah, it should be working right now.
You might have to read it to me. It's not showing up on mine. Don't know why.
I think it's just letting.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. I got one. Didn't use storytelling. Yep. That's all I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Great answers, you guys. Yeah, it wasn't that she was horrible, but if I had interviewed her, I would have walked away and been like, does this person really understand what being a doctor is about? Do they, and I would definitely say they don't have the experience to be able to answer that question. Yeah, so I would have, I probably wouldn't have given that interviewee a very high score. Because yeah, they just didn't seem to know what they were talking about or have insight. I think that's another one. They just didn't have a whole lot of insight into not only the career, but about themselves. So I think that's the other important piece is that question about strengths and weaknesses that always comes up, I think is a really important one to take a little time to think through, because you know, they want to see somebody that's insightful and has emotional intelligence. They want somebody that's thought through what their challenges are going to be and have at least, you know, an outline of a plan of how to address those challenges. And they want somebody that understands what it's like to be a patient, and not just, oh, I've seen this from, you know, outside on the street. I'm looking in the window and now I understand what being a doctor is. Like, it's not window shopping. It's you need to go in and you need to actually have the experiences that let people know that you are truly committed. So what did you see in the second interview that person did that was so much better? Yeah. Yep. So not everybody is going to have a brother that has type 1 diabetes. Not everyone is going to have the experience of taking care of a family member with dementia. But you can go out and get those experiences through the volunteer things that I talked about. Because you got to be able to have some stories to talk about. And the hands-on experience piece. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You guys got it. So in the interest of time, let me just, yeah, you guys got that. Okay. So we're just going to close with a couple just quick points about being an effective communicator. This video is very short, but I think it really is good. Let me, whoops, I can get it to work. Okay. Be in the presentation mode.
5 things I would do if I wanted to improve my communication skills fast. First, I would record myself every single day. And when you watch yourself back, it's going to feel cringy, but it's the fastest way you can spot what you need to improve. Second, I would mirror people's energy. If they use big body language, then I will use big body language. If they speak quietly, then I'll adjust my volume and also speak quietly. Third, learn how to pause more, because the more comfortable you become with the pause, the less filler words and non-words you'll be using. Seriously, Mr. Beast. Beast games, amazing. Fourth, use the Ford method. Talk about family, occupation, recreation, and dreams, and you'll never run out of things to say. And fifth, end your sentences on a lower pitch. Because if you don't, do you notice what happens? Now listen to the difference. I need more steps to get down to the bottom.
Obviously, that was an exaggeration, that last one, but it really, I've gone to seminars on communication, and the mistakes that people made, number one is they use a lot. So instead of using just pause. And it's fine to just pause and take a few seconds to think through your answer and try not to use The other thing, and this is especially true of women, is that if we end the sentence on a higher note, it makes people think that we're questioning or not as confident that if we end the sentence on a lower note. On the lower note, it actually conveys more experience, and it conveys more, oh shoot, what's the word I'm looking for? Can't think of it. Just that you know what you're talking about. So that's something where his first point, which is to video yourself frequently, is really, really vital to do. And we'll circle back to mentor. Like, a mentor can be a great person to practice in person, or send them a video and say, what did you think? And can you offer me some suggestions? So really preparing for your interview, anticipate the questions that are going to be asked. Don't memorize your answers, because if you forget because you're nervous, you're going to stumble. Instead of trying to memorize your answers, have an outline in your mind of what points you want to cover in your interview. And then if you can, it's a lot less to remember if you're just remembering your points as opposed to remembering a dialogue. And practice, practice, practice with everybody around you. So if you just take one more second, that's the end of this, is just tell me what you learned today. So that, and tell me if there are, and you're either welcome to fill out the Mentimeter, or you can just unmute and give me some feedback on what went well. Give me some feedback on what you might have learned, and give me some feedback on what I could do in the future to make this presentation better. Let's do that, and then we can absolutely entertain any questions that anyone has. So good, learned about interviews, great. Yep, that one. Yep. Yeah, that's really vital. I love that. I might borrow that one. That's a good one. Commitment to being a great physician starts long before medical school. Yep, and LinkedIn stuff. Yeah, that you watch out what you put out. Yep, absolutely. Yep, and storytelling. Yep. Connect your experiences with the qualities that medical schools are looking for. Exactly. Great. Well, I think you guys got the major things that I was really trying to convey. Let me stop sharing my screen. And yeah, come back to the main one. Yeah, let's open any questions that anybody has that I can answer.
I have a question. I was wondering if you could reiterate how to approach a potential like individual that you'd like to be your mentor. Like if you've done the research and you like want to introduce yourself to them, but you're too shy or too nervous.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the first thing to do is probably to write an email and introduce yourself through email, talk a little bit about your goals, and then ask. And that way it gives the person a little bit more time to kind of think through, and they won't feel quite as on the spot. And if you're really nervous about it, you can take the time to write it out in a way that sounds like you want to convey it. And then you know, if they don't want to, you didn't want them anyway, right? You want someone that's going to be engaged. So if they write back to you and they say, sure, I'd love to, then I would say the next step is offer to get them a cup of coffee or to meet. You don't have to buy the coffee. They probably wouldn't let you anyway, but tell them that you'd love to meet for an hour at a coffee shop, and or you're welcome to, or that you would be willing to come to their office, or you know, just throw out some suggestions. I think the idea is, because I've mentored multiple students, and I'm always happy to do it. It's nice if I don't have to do the logistics, if the student has actually kind of figured out the logistics, if the student knows going into it what they want to get out of it, so I know what I can give, I think is really, really helpful. And if it doesn't work the first time around, and multiple mentors is often what people do. So yeah, I think most of the time I'd be surprised if people say no. I don't think most people are going to say no to that. So but I think emailing is a great way to start, but then setting up an in-person meeting and see if you click is the next best step.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Great answer. Great question.
Thank you.
Can you also talk to them about being on the phone when you're in clinical settings or places that you don't
Yeah.
know where you should have phones or not phones?
You're talking about just more about professionalism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's tricky is that a lot of students will be on their phones, but they're looking something up. So I would just say at that point, I'm not on the internet. I'm just looking something up to better answer your question. So I think just saying that, but I think it's fairly obvious that you want, as part of being a professional, you do not want to look like you're disengaged, and you want to look like you're a professional. So you don't send the right image of yourself if you're on your phone in the corner and not paying attention and engaged. So I do think you need to be careful about that. The phone is a tool, and that's fine, and people understand that, but you need to let them know that's what you're doing. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, no, I work in the ER and we sometimes get volunteers. We get volunteers and they're on their phone all the time and we ask them to put it away and then they want to have a debate with us about what
Interesting.
they're
Okay.
doing. And it's like, look, this is like a really simple thing. Like, or my favorite other one is, well, the residents are on their phones. It's like, yeah, they know when to use it and
Yeah.
uh
It's about cultivating an image, right? You don't want people to walk away from an experience with you thinking, that student really didn't feel like they wanted to be here. Or they're really not that engaged. Why are they here? That's not the impression that you want to give. So again, thinking about it is stressful. I totally get it. The place in life that you guys are at right now is stressful because you really do have to be aware of other people and how they're perceiving you, and you want to be genuine at the same time. So it's a hard time. I think the other experience that hopefully helped you guys is my, explaining I didn't get in the first time, and it was devastating at the time, but it was, in retrospect, it was like the best thing that could have happened to me. And so you're gonna hit bumps in the road. Don't let those bumps keep you from your goal and your vision. The other thing is, most people honestly don't get into medical school the first time because they don't have the experiences that medical student admissions folks are looking for. So it may even be in your best interest to not apply right out of college, to take a gap year after college, to do some of those volunteer things, to get your EMT, to go abroad. Because once you start medical school, it's really hard to do any of those things. So taking a break after you've worked for, 16 years to get to the place where you would then apply to medical school, taking a year to really make sure that this is the right thing you want to do is, I think, a really important thing to think about doing.
Yeah, and also like taking pictures and stuff. We actually had a nurse that was terminated for taking a picture of the trauma room after a trauma and
So
posted it and this was like and she was there for a long time, but yeah, they uh you
privacy is crucial.
this is a good question. Somebody's asking in the chat is as a transgender student, how would you approach the social media aspects and still remain professional in the current socio-political environment? And
That's a tough one. I think you have every right to self-express. Just make sure that when you're talking about stuff, if you're in a professional setting, it shouldn't be about you. It should be about the patient. So we've had transgender students that have dyed their hair bright orange, and had to talk to them about, this is not a professional look. This makes the visit about you, and it's distracting to the, what your sex, your gender, what you wear is not relevant to how good of a physician you are, but you also want to appear professional so that people will listen and will trust you. I know that's not completely answering. I think it's fine on social media to be true to yourself and to advocate for a marginalized political group if that is something that is really important to you. It may turn some people off, and there's nothing you can do about that. And if it does, that's not a place that you want to probably be in the first place. So it's not an easy answer in terms of how much do you share your passions online. And it depends on what part of the country you're in, right? If you're in California, you can express your views on pro-choice. You can express your your pro-immigrant views, and you're not going to be marginalized for that. But if you go other places in the country and they see that, they are going to hold that against you. And it's just, unfortunately, the reality of the world that we live in today, that you just have to be very careful about what you put out there. Yeah, it's a tough thing to navigate. I don't have a great answer because it's not an easy answer. It shouldn't be the way it is the answer I would say. You should be able to be passionate about anything that benefits people and is in support of people, and people being themselves, and people expressing themselves in the way they want to express themselves. It should be fine to do all that. The reality is, in certain parts of the country, it's not. So that's the problem that we're dealing with. I hope it changes.
I have a really good friend of mine who's transgender, and she basically states that your community is the people that are around you and that support you, and those are the people that are most important now.
Yeah.
But she always gets and she's very out, so um, I don't want to, and she's very out and she's not shy about it. But she also says that you have to have like a very thick
Yeah.
spine
Yeah.
because people will attack you, and luckily she's in a state that's
So
more, and but she's always but at the end of the day, like, it's your community is not online, it's actually the people that are around you that love you. Because you know people on social media, their love is very fleeting. They could go hot and cold any minute of the day. And so yeah, it's a personal choice in how much abuse you want to be exposed to. And we can't really control, you can't really control that, but you can control your community and the people that will support you.
I agree. I'll just emphasize, if an organization or a school doesn't support you for being you, you don't want to be there anyway. You want to be in a community that you feel supported and that you can be yourself. So, yeah, just make sure the self that you're showing is a professional self. I think that's the most important piece.
Yeah, I'm not a physician, but the anecdote about a nurse taking a picture of the trauma room is interesting. Yeah, it's just basically they took a picture of the blood and guts and they tagged it, and and even the union tried to stepped in and everything, and they basically, they're becoming very strict. And this was like right after, like, this wasn't like right after, like this was in 2023, so after the pandemic, where some people were, so it's, yeah, and I don't know all the exact details, but all we know is that she was, and then the union got involved, and I don't know what happened from there, but
She tagged the date and she tagged the place.
yep,
Then you could imagine that if a loved
yeah,
one of yours was in that hospital that day after trauma, that you could tie that back with the
yeah,
photo, and that would be hurtful.
yeah,
So I think that, if you did probably just, yeah, and even if she hadn't tagged the place, if her name's associated with it and everybody knows where she works, yeah, you have to.
yeah. I mean, like us that we work in the ER, we hide we cover our last names just because we deal with so because I've actually had this happen to me. Is I had a patient family who followed me home after work,
Yikes.
and I noticed it because I drive pretty far from work to home, and I kept seeing this car in the morning. It was in the morning too. If it was at night, I couldn't tell. But this car was following me across a bridge and all the way, bridge and a couple other places. And so then, I ended up calling 911 and drove to the CHB station in Marin County. And so, yeah, and so that you could easily find people's information from social media. It's not that hard, and so some of us, we choose to cover our last names. Certainly, it's us that have, if my name was John Smith,
It wouldn't be so bad. Yeah.
with my name, like you could Google me and like within 3 seconds find like everything about.
Luckily, that doesn't happen very often, but
Ugh,
there are some crazy people out there, and
yeah,
they've been emboldened to be crazier these days. Like, it's acceptable in some places to show how crazy and bigoted that you are.
yeah,
Luckily, I don't see that much, but
yeah. No,
um,
during the pandemic, we had auditors that would show up and videotape, us coming. And it's like, yeah, that makes you happy, do it. But then they would try to confront us, and we're like, yeah, that's where you draw the line. But yeah, but
still a
you have to
great
be really,
career. It
yeah,
is a great career despite all that.
yeah. No, there's. I mean, look, that's why like being in a hospital and why these are really important because you're gonna spend the next 30 years of your life, and you gotta know what you're getting into. And there is a lot of good things about healthcare. There's some bad things, just like any other
Yeah,
job. Like,
totally.
I, you know, and so yeah, it's not
Still do it again,
perfect.
though. I'd do it again without
Which
hesitation. Yeah, I would.
awesome. Does
Yeah.
anybody have any other questions? Because our time is up, and if Dr. Silver has to spend a minute over, then we're gonna have to.
Pay me? No. Just teasing.
Yeah. Now, anybody have any other questions, concerns, anything? Please ask. If
There's a
not,
survey, right, that you'll share with me, because
yeah.
I'm always trying to improve this. I apologize again about the tech. It seems like no matter how much I prepare, things
Um,
happen.
There
this is
is,
actually a really good
oh,
question. Do you want to ask it,
oh,
Ilya?
sure. Yeah. There is a question a student asked, and they're asking if it would negatively impact their journey to share about mental health experience.
Oh, that's a really good question. Not if it shows your resilience and your sort of emergence on the other side of a crisis, because that's life, right? Like, you want to be real. You don't want the person to be left with a question of, is this person unstable or not able to withstand the rigors? So, yeah, I think it really depends on the situation. I mean, it comes up a fair amount if you've had gaps in your training, and people ask, what was going on during that time. And, I've had many students and residents say, my family member was dying and I couldn't take care of them and take care of my own needs while this was going on. And I felt it was the best for myself and my family to step away for a little while. And it was a good thing that I did that. And then when I was ready mentally, I got back into it. And, that shows, maturity and self-insight, right? You can't take care of other people if you can't take care of yourself first. So if you use the experience to show that you have that insight and you have that self-reflection, I think it can be a very positive thing to show life's journeys, because that is what, life is a journey of ups and downs, and you often learn more about yourself from the downs and the failures and the challenges. And so as long as you can circle back and show that you've learned something about yourself or something that's going to make you more resilient moving forward, then I think it's completely fine, and can be beneficial even to talk about it. All right.
Alrighty. Well, we don't have any more questions, so we're gonna let you go. Thank you again.
You are quite welcome. I'm happy to come back anytime, and please give me feedback if you feel more comfortable with written feedback. Students, please do. And yeah, happy to help
Thank you.
anytime. All right.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Appreciate having me. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
You too.